What's up, everyone? It's Ian. Tonight, I am out at Kings Island. We're doing Haunt again. This time, weather is a lot nicer than it was when I was here last weekend. I actually tried to come on Sunday, and everything got rained out, so they closed the park at 6 o'clock. Tonight, on the other hand, it's supposed to be a little chilly, but nice clear night. Really wanted to get back here and do everything. So we've got Haunted Attractions Pass, which it's there somewhere. I swear it's there. We've got to go back to the Conjuring and get that spot reserved. I know that they're doing something different than Carowinds did when I went. They have like a return time. And then otherwise, I'm just going to kind of wander around the park because I wanted to be here one more time before the season ends. So I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of new info here. Pretty much everything has already been covered by a multitude of other people, including myself. But I'm just going to...
Friends and family in 15 minutes.
So really probably nothing new here to cover just because we are getting close to the end of the season. This is the second to last week of Haunt. But I really kind of just wanted to get back here and do everything. Do all the houses, or mazes as we call them, sorry. Do the Conjuring, and really just kind of compare it to the experience that I had at Carowinds. I originally was looking to do a who did their scary event better between the two parks, but honestly, it's going to be kind of hard to top Kings Island this week or this year, just because they do have some really, really cool things that they added. Really not even specific to the mazes or anything like that, though I've heard great things about some of them. I've heard some like Kilmart, Slaughterhouse, they're kind of all the same stuff that they have been, but Order of the Dragon is supposed to be really good. I know the Conjuring is good, so I'm hoping that they didn't skimp on it here. I hope that they did it to the level that Carowinds did it. But just the overall atmosphere of Haunt this year has been really, really good. So looking forward to having one more night here before the season closes. So we are going to go check it out. Let's go.
About to heat up, and we want to make sure you're ready for all we have in store. Yes. All right. Let's not keep them
Okay, on that note, the event is open, so we are heading back to Rivertown. Got to go figure out when we're supposed to be doing the Conjuring. After that, I think it's probably going to be time to take a maze and probably jump on a coaster before it gets too freaking cold. So, probably going to be Orion. So, see where we end up after that. Alright, just wrapped up the Conjuring. Actually did that like in no time flat. I think I only waited like maybe 20 minutes for it. Still not a lot of people here, so it might be a little bit of a quiet night in the park. I don't know. It's also not dark yet, so that could have something to do with it too. But it was actually pretty good, but I do think maybe Carowinds did a couple of things better. So, I don't know. I can't knock it. It was good. Like, it very, I think that the reason that I like the Carowinds version just a little bit better is it's in the old crypt building, so the ceiling is like all completely open. And maybe I just didn't notice it at Carowinds, but I feel like that kind of took away from the experience just a tiny little bit here, but it was still amazing. I think they want $30 for it tonight. I actually had bought it the other day when it was 20 and got rained out, so just was able to use it any night through the end of Haunt, which is November 2nd. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be something worth doing still. They did a really good job with the production. Production quality is just like spot on point. Really, really cool. Definitely want to do Order of the Dragon because that's the other one that I've heard is like fantastic this year. And then I think everything else is pretty much just the same that it's always been. But I haven't seen. Oh, never mind. There goes Mr. Timbers. Diamondback's been running. Orion's been running. I hadn't seen Mr. Timbers until just now. But we're gonna walk around, probably find something to drink, which obviously we won't be doing there. So that's the next thing on the docket, and then we're gonna wander around and see what else is going on. All right, so heading back through Coney Mall right now, got my drink. Heading back to Orion because it is starting to get kind of cold, and the temperature tonight is supposed to get down to, I think, 34 or something. So that's gonna be a mighty cold ride here real soon. In fact, it's probably already gonna be pretty cold. But I'm gonna go do that, and then I think maybe I'll do the maze that's back there while I'm at it. Still pretty low crowds tonight, so I think the cold might be kind of keeping people away. But pretty good night otherwise. It's nice and clear still. So let's go check out Area 72. All right, so one of my gripes when I was here on opening night was that there were virtually no scare actors at all in Area 72, and it kind of doesn't look like that's changed, which is a little bit of a bummer because it used to be really cool. Maybe there will be more when the evening goes on. I don't know, we'll see. But for now, heading toward Orion, probably gonna be one of my last rides on it this year, which is kind of a bummer, I guess. And then after that, I think we're gonna head over to Alien Abyss, since it's right here and doesn't seem to have any kind of a line whatsoever. So we're gonna grab a locker, do Orion, and I'll be back with you. All right, Orion was cold, but not bad. I feel like I rode Fury in colder weather than that, so no complaints. It was a good ride. Alien Abyss, it was all right. The big complaint I know with Kings Island's mazes has been that there's kind of a lack of scare actors in there, and I think I counted 4, so maybe I miscounted, I don't know. It was actually just kind of hard to get through because one part is just pitch black, and like you're literally just banging into people all around you. So not my favorite, but I guess we'll go and see what some of the other ones have to offer. I think dinner might be on the docket first though, because I am getting hungry and it is right about 8 o'clock. So it seems like a good time to eat. All right, back on the quest for food. So made a quick detour to the little Orion shop because they had a whole bunch of shirts and everything for $5. Mugs, bottles, tumblers, $2. So if you make it over to Kings Island and you want some Orion swag, stop there. The lady working in the shop told me that they do have some Orion stuff on clearance in the other shops too, but yeah, it's originally like a $70 shirt. I picked it up for $5. So I think we're going to Brew House for dinner, largely because it's indoors and it's not like freezing. It's a nice fall night, but it is cold enough that I want to eat inside. So that's where we're heading. And just a quick look at what our line is looking like for Killmart here. Not. So apparently some people think it's quite a line, but it's really not. So anyway, we'll probably go through that after dinner. Okay, dinner at Brew House, check. Went over and did the 9 o'clock fountain show, and I'm heading over into Action Zone right now. I know we got cornered over here and Order of the Dragon's over here, so I'm probably gonna borrow a Banshee locker and throw all my junk in that. But we'll do these 2 mazes over here and then see where we end up next. All right, so just knocked out Order of the Dragon and Cornered. Cornered was about what you'd expect. But Order of the Dragon was super, super neat. Did have a little bit of a longer line for that one, probably because it is kind of popular. Got a really good reputation early on in the season for being a really, really high quality attraction and lives up to the hype. For this park, I'd probably say it might actually be the best of the mazes, Conjuring included, just because they did a couple of things a little bit differently with Conjuring here that they didn't do at Carowinds or vice versa. But Order of the Dragon was super, super cool. So if you get the chance, check that one out. Really, really good. At this point, I'm heading back over to Rivertown. Definitely want to find something to drink first. Might also grab some hot chocolate at some point too, because it is definitely cold. All the coasters look like they're still running, but it's only about 42 degrees. So pretty nice change from what we had the opening night anyway. So it's about 10 o'clock right now. Got 2 hours of haunt left, so got to make the most of it. All right, I kind of settled on maybe doing one more maze, but Kilmart is like empty, so I guess we'll go in there first. All right, Kilmart, everybody says it needs to go. Kind of does. That's kind of an old crusty one, but whatever. So next one on the list is Hotel St. Michel. Another old one, but let's do it. All right, and our last one is gonna be Slaughterhouse. Oh, I guess if I felt like freezing to death, I could probably ride the beast real quick. Definitely different than it was last week. All right, Slaughterhouse, good, stupid fun. Another one that probably hasn't been touched in a really long time, but hey, whatever. So that's it. We got through all of them. So just basic haunted attractions pass, no express or anything like that. Started with the Conjuring, got there, did that one, knocked it out right off the bat. Had time for dinner, had time for Orion. That's the only thing I rode so far. It's just after 11 o'clock, so there is a little bit of time. If I did want to sneak on something else, I probably could, but it's like 39 degrees, so don't think that's gonna happen. Diamondback, that would be a potentially very cold back row ride because they have not drained the lake. But yeah, we're gonna head back toward International Street. At this point, I think I'm gonna stick it out and see what they've got going at the very end of the event. I know they do another variation of the Pyro Show, which I have not seen yet, so I do want to check that out. But otherwise, that's pretty much it for the night. Okay, so this is the first time that I have seen a delineation between the two, but last year's are still on sale for $39.99. This year's for $47.99. And they claim that this year's does something different than last year's does, but that has not been what I've observed. They've been pretty much the same. But in any case, they got plenty. right, so on that note, we are done. It is midnight, park's closed. I got here right when the park opened up, actually a little bit before, but I got to spend the whole night here. Weather was really, really nice, even though it was a little on the chilly side, but everything cooperated. So I had a great visit to Haunt. Got here a couple times this year. Definitely my favorite time to be in the park, but they really did a great job with it this year. So looking forward to seeing what they put together next year. I've got some thoughts that I'm going to share after I get probably back home, honestly. But yeah, great time, great time. If you have not gotten down here, you still have a couple of days to do it this weekend and next weekend, which is Halloween. So make sure, do yourself a favor, get down to Haunt. All right, so as promised, my thoughts from Haunt, Scarowinds, how the two events compare to each other. Let's go. I spent the drive home last night thinking about just my experiences at both of the parks, and I wanted to say like, let's compare them and see which one did it better, but it's kind of hard to do that because they are pretty different for a lot of reasons, even though they are also the same in a lot of reasons. But I've got my notes here, and just thought I'd go down the list of things that I noticed. So overall, both events were really good. Really enjoyed both. I loved the usual, the eyes on the Eiffel Tower, the eyes on the observation tower at Scarowinds. They fog the place up real nice, gives good atmosphere. So atmosphere, totally on point for both. I do think that the overall presentation of Kings Island when you first walk in just kind of hits a little harder. You've got the fountains, you've got the torches, everything just looks good. So really, Carowinds kind of doesn't really have that wow factor when you first walk in. Nothing wrong with that, it's a different park. That's fine. But as far as the event goes itself, so comparing the event to 2024 to 2023, a lot of changes have been made, some good, some bad. Obviously, the first one that has been kind of a point of contention is the Haunted Attractions Pass. This probably is going to be a little bit of a hot take, but I really didn't mind it. The reason that I say that is I do feel that it really helped to mitigate traffic going into the mazes. The lines did not seem anywhere near as long as what I have seen in the past. And that was true at both parks. So I think that there's probably a measure of people saying, well, I'm not going to pay $10 for each of my family of 4 to go to this when it used to be free in the past. And yes, technically, it was included with admission, but at the same time, you kind of had to pick and choose which attractions you went to just because the lines were so oppressively long for literally any of them. Didn't see that this year. Made it very, very easy. Scarowinds, I made it into all but one of the houses. Mazes. I gotta stop calling them houses. Last night at Kings Island, I did all of them. So there are 6 of them. We've got Order of the Dragon, which is the new one for this year, which was absolutely amazing. They did great work with that. Animatronics were super cool. All the theming for it was really cool. It didn't seem understaffed. I know that a lot of the other attractions this year have kind of fallen into that trap, but Order of the Dragon, at the very least, I think it was worth the $10 just for that. Then we've got Slaughterhouse, pretty basic. Scarowinds even had almost the exact same thing. I think they even call it Slaughterhouse. Alien Abyss, which was the new for 2023 maze. Clearly that one has just kind of been totally forgotten by the park. One of my biggest gripes was that when they rolled that maze out in 2023, they had all of the scare actors that had taken over Area 72, and they made it really spooky, really, really cool, and there were none to be found. I did see one on opening night, but just that one, and last night, last weekend, it just seems like the scare actors had completely abandoned the area, which is such a bummer because it's a fantastic area. They did such a great job with the theming over there that they had so much to work with, and I feel like it was the first casualty. So that's the only thing that was kind of a bummer. Alien Abyss itself is an interesting concept, but it did feel understaffed. So that probably was the one that I noticed it the most. I do think that the concept that they have going there is pretty cool. Wasn't a big fan of the pitch black area, not because I thought it was like a dumb idea or anything. The only problem was just I had people banging into me that were behind me in line. I was walking into the guy in front of me because you literally just cannot see anything. And I guess that adds to the scare factor, but at the same time, it's really just kind of a pain. So I didn't love that about it. Definitely wasn't my favorite maze. Moving on to Kmart. It is a tired old take on Kmart. It's been around forever. A lot of people say it needs to go. I can't really add anything to what everybody else has said. It's tired and probably should be the next one to be considered for replacement. Hotel St. Michel, I didn't talk about it a whole lot in the video, but actually I thought that one was kind of cool. Also, again, kind of old, hasn't really been touched in a while. But the concept is cool. It works. So I think if they let that one go for another couple of years, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Cornered, I think, was the only other of the standard mazes. That one, it's just very predictable, which is fine. It was mainly just people in the ghillie suits, and you could tell that a lot of the scare actors in there were pulling double duty. They'd scare you through one wall, and then they'd wait for you to go around a bend and scare you through another wall. So, I mean, that's, at the very least, good people management for situations where you don't really have a whole lot of scare actors. And I'm glad that they at least put some energy into Order of the Dragon and, of course, The Conjuring. So this one is great at both parks. Both of them really, really pulled it off very, very well. I do think that the enjoyment factor for me was probably a little bit higher at Carowinds. I don't know if maybe I just wasn't taking note of it because I was more focused on what was happening around me. But looking up, like there was nothing done with the ceilings or anything at Kings Island. It very well could have been the same at Carowinds, and I just didn't notice it. But certain things were laid out just a little bit differently, which makes sense because they are two completely different structures that they're placed in. Carowinds used, I have no idea what the building actually is. It's the big kind of theater type looking thing. The outside of it looks a lot like the Action Theater at Kings Island. But everything was on one level. Kings Island, you did have some stairs to go down. It's in the old Tomb Raider building, so they did the best with what they had. There were a couple of things that I did notice at Kings Island last night that were just a little bit different than Carowinds. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that is going either this weekend or maybe next weekend for Halloween, but there's one thing at the end particularly that Kings Island did do just a little bit better than Carowinds did, and I'd love to be able to talk about what it is, but I don't want to ruin it. So overall, I don't think that either one is a bad value or you're missing out by going to one over the other. I think they both did it very well, and I would really, really love to see them execute on this caliber again next year. I kind of hope that we get something different, but with all the money that they spent on The Conjuring, I don't know that they're going to phase that one out. Again, you could potentially run into issues with whether or not they actually want to license the IP next year. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that one plays out. But I think the popularity at least justified having it there this year and probably grants some consideration to whether or not they should do it again next year, which if anybody up there is listening to me, do it. I loved it. I thought it was great. The charges for it were kind of all over the place. Also, whether or not it was included with the Haunted Attractions Express Pass. I really am feeling like at the beginning of the season, Kings Island kind of went back and forth on that one. I know initially it was, and then I feel like there was a little span of time there where it wasn't, and I could be wrong about that. I've been racking my brain trying to remember if it was consistent the whole time, but I really don't think it was. If you remember, help me out, drop a comment, because I can't remember. Carowinds did have it included in their Express Pass when I was there a couple of weeks ago. I didn't do the express, which I'm kind of glad that I didn't because I walked right into everything. So between spending the $10 on the regular haunted attractions pass and $20 on the Conjuring, I was in for half of what I would have been for an express pass. And that was actually the same story for Kings Island, albeit I was supposed to go last Sunday. The park did shut down for weather at 6 o'clock, so they canceled all haunt events. The nice thing about that is they make it real easy for you to use any tickets that you purchased that were dated. So basically when I went to guest services, they just said, yeah, come back anytime before haunt ends, which is on November the 2nd. So walked right up to the fast lane kiosk. I was able to scan my ticket for my haunted attractions pass. They gave me no trouble whatsoever. Conjuring was the same way. They validate your pass when you first walk into the queue visually, and then they physically scan it a little bit further up, closer to the entrance to the building. But again, also, no problem whatsoever redeeming it. Even though it was dated, they let me right through. Another thing that they've started handling differently at Kings Island versus Carowinds is, at least to the best of my knowledge, maybe Carowinds has changed this as well since I've been there, but I haven't heard anything about it. They do have the return time slot for the Conjuring. I don't know if they were even using that last night because the park actually was pretty quiet. Tonight, I imagine it probably will be in play very much the same way that it was last Saturday. The park was absolutely slammed and the Conjuring was no exception. So I think that's kind of cool because it almost works like a virtual queue where you go to the shop where they have all of the little Conjuring goodies and everything, including a $500 Annabelle, if anybody really wants to own that. But you go in there and just walk up to the register. Initially, what they were telling me last week was, yeah, we'll go ahead and give you the return time. What you would do is you would just go to the queue for the Conjuring, and there would be somebody standing out front. They had some kind of a data device. They would tell you, okay, your return time slot is, and they would give you a slot of half an hour, 7 to 7:30, 7:30 to 8, etc. You still kind of wanted to get there early because those slots did fill up. At least that's how it had been explained to me. But again, last night there was nobody really there, so I walked right in. Once I was in line, I probably stood there for maybe 20 minutes, which was less than the amount of time that I waited at Carowinds. Since they did not offer any kind of a return time slot or anything like that, you pretty much were just stuck standing in line, which is why I said in the video, if you're going to Carowinds and you want to do the Conjuring, just knock it out right off the bat because that one fills up like crazy. So I think that was a good idea. I would be kind of curious to know how it works tonight. I wanted to kind of spend a little bit of time watching it just to see what was going on last night or last weekend, but I didn't get the opportunity to. As far as the attractions pass goes, this, again, like I said, I like it. I think it's good, but I think that communicating how it works, everybody knew it was gonna be a little bit of a problem, and I actually kind of witnessed that firsthand. I felt really, really bad for this guy and his kid that were behind me in line for Order of the Dragon last night, because they waited for probably 20-25 minutes, only to be told by the time they got to the front of the line and didn't have a wristband on, oh yeah, you actually have to go buy a wristband, and they kicked him out of line. And I shouldn't say kicked him out of line, they were polite about it. The staff member there was really nice, but at the same time, could the situation have probably been handled by just letting them in and saying, you really kind of need the pass, but you've waited for a half an hour, we'll go ahead and let you through. I don't know how feasible that is. I'm sure that person probably wasn't empowered to make that decision. But at the same time, she also provided the reason, we're just really understaffed tonight, and we don't have anybody out front telling people that, which I didn't like that explanation because there was somebody standing outside of Cornered, and if you've been to Kings Island during Haunt ever, nobody goes to Cornered. Nobody cares. So if staffing were really that big of a concern, take the staff member that is outside of Cornered, 25 feet away, put them at the entrance for Order of the Dragon, because that's the one that everybody's going to. That was kind of a little gripe that I had, and I did feel bad for the guy and his kid. But anyway, I would like to see if they do continue moving forward with this type of a setup, which I think is okay. I think that they can do that. I would like to see a little bit better communication around it, and I know that they actually did kind of announce that they were doing this pretty much right when they announced the schedule for Haunt, so it seemed like it was a very last-minute idea in the first place, but I hope that if they do decide to do it this way again next year, they at least do some communication, educate people, make them aware of what they need to do so that they don't have issues like those two people did last night, just because that's really not a great guest experience. And honestly, like, they still wanted to do it. They were like, okay, we'll go buy our wristbands and we'll be back. And I mean, shout out to them for being cool, but I think that there are situations where that could probably add a lot of stress to the staff members, and especially if the park's already understaffed, that's the last thing that these staff members need, is to deal with something like that. So overall, though, I will say, outside of the explanations that were given there, which probably just kind of needed to be provided on the fly, staff members were great last night. They have been the entire season. They have been the entire year. There's nothing different about that. Kings Island has the best staff, period. They do a great job, so really shout out to any of you who may be watching this. You do fantastic work. The scare actors were amazing. The ones that were roaming around International Street were really fun, super playful. The ones that were in the mazes themselves were a lot of fun. I got a pretty good laugh out of one of them in Slaughterhouse. So they did good work there. Yeah, so that's pretty much all that I can really say about the attractions pass. One thing that has been a little bit of a pebble in my shoe are these things. So the entire season, they've had the lanterns with the spider and the lanterns with the ghost. So the ghosts are the new ones for this year, and allegedly they do something different. I think I was reading the sign and it said like it vibrates if you're in an area where maybe somebody tags you or there's an experience going on that the lantern reacts to. And then also, apparently you can just push the button to activate the lantern points throughout the park, whereas with this one, you kind of have to, like, do all this and... Oh, there we go. Do all this and try and get it to do something, which it does work. You just have to get close to it. But the funny thing is, last night was the first night that I have noticed these last year versions with the spider on them being sold for $39.99 like they were last year, and the ghost versions from this year being sold for $47.99. There has been no explanation whatsoever as to what is different about the two, and they all were just intermixed on the rack, and it just said $47.99. I did notice when I went to Carowinds, if you remember in that video, that they were selling them for $39.99. I'd have to go back and look and see if they were these guys or if they did have the ghosts on them, but I also don't really remember a whole lot of activity from the lanterns at Scarowinds. So Kings Island did some really, really cool stuff with these, and I know Cedar Point has activation points for them too, but I think Kings Island really did some cool stuff with them this year. So if you happen to be heading down there this weekend or next weekend, pick one of them up. If I'm being honest, you probably don't really need to buy the new one unless you really care about it vibrating or just being able to push the button to activate the activation point. But I think it's funny that just last night they started putting up different signage talking about the differences between the two and the fact that they have different pricing. So that's kind of funny. But anyway, there's still a pretty nice little touch, and I know that they do the ornaments for Winterfest. I didn't pick one up last year, so I'm probably going to try one of those at Winterfest this year just to see what all it does. But I do feel like there were more activation points for these this year. So they're pretty cool. And on top of that, they're kind of a fun little decoration to have sitting around. What else? What else did I have here to talk about? Oh, got to get back to the Conjuring for a minute. I know I keep talking about it, but it was so cool that I just have one more thing to touch on with it. So, the Mullins Workshop Bar, love it. It was so cool. They did a specialty drink menu, and I think all but one of the drinks that they offered there had dry ice in it, so it gave you like this bubbly effect, and it looked really cool. I ended up trying 3 different ones, and they were all really, really good. My favorite was the Crooked Man Smash. That's the one that I couldn't remember the name of that I had at Carowinds, and I said it was really good. It's still really good. So if you make it down there, pick one of those up. And the cool thing, too, is that they actually offer all of these in a mocktail version as well. So if you do not consume alcohol, or maybe if one of your kids want one, you actually have an option for them to get the bubbly drink and have a little bit of fun with that. So definitely make sure to check that one out. And they do have a really neat little bar set up for it with some couches and just kind of a nice little spot to sit down and chill for a minute while you're waiting to plan your next step during your visit. The biggest thing that I loved at Haunt, and I think this is probably the last thing that I got on my list here, is the pyro fountain show that they do on International Street. No one at the park level has talked about this, and it's the coolest thing ever. So every single year they always have the torches, the propane torches that blow like every 10 seconds or something. But this year they actually had significantly more of them. They move around, they do different stuff, they interact with the fountains. They play a different song on the hour, every hour, starting, at least last night, it started at 7 o'clock. So right when it's starting to get dark. But what I would recommend, get over to like the front of International Street by the park entrance. That's my favorite place to watch it, but anywhere on International Street, you're going to get a good show. But definitely make sure to check that out at some point, because it is super, super, super cool. You've seen a couple of snippets in the video so far, and I'll throw a little bit more in at the end here, just because I loved it so much. And yeah, nothing about it in the app or anything. You wouldn't even know that it's happening if you hadn't heard about it or just happened to be walking by and saw it. But I loved that. So overall, really, Kings Island knocked it out of the park this year. I think they did a great job. Even though there were a couple of things that made people not real happy, I think that the value behind the cost associated with doing the things that they did pays off. I liked not having to wait a 2-hour line to get into a maze that you're going to get through in like 3 minutes. I liked being able to do all of them. And really, as far as the new attractions that were added, they cost money. So they had to get that money from somewhere. So hopefully the capital that they raise by selling those passes, be it a Haunted Attractions Pass, Conjuring Ticket, Express Pass, the season-long one, if you were able to get your hands on one of those, hopefully that went to the right place, but it kind of looked to me like they spent money in sensible areas for this year's event. So that's all I've got. I promised you a little snippet of one of the fountain shows, so I'm going to take you on over to that here in a second. But if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. We are getting to the end of spooky season. Unfortunately, it's a bummer. It's my favorite time of year to be in the park, but we definitely have some cool things coming up here. I'm not going to be at Kings Island for the last weekend of Haunt, unfortunately. I do have a different little park trip planned, so we're going to change things up a little bit here for the next video. But again, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one, and until then, peace.